You probably already know a little bit about the basics of square roots. This lesson will focus on simplifying square roots. Let's start with the square root of 75. Do you remember your perfect squares? Which of these perfect squares will divide into 75 with no remainder? Well, 25. Since 25 times 3 is 75, we can rewrite the square root of 75 as the square root of 25 times the square root of 3. Now we can simplify the square root of 25 to get 5. So instead of the square root of 25 times the square root of 3, we have 5 times the square root of 3. The square root of 3 can't be simplified anymore, so 5 times the square root of 3 is the final answer. Let's try another one. The square root of 72. If you don't recognize that the square root of 72 is the square root of 36 times the square root of 2, that's okay. Just think of another perfect square to use instead of 36. For this one, let's try breaking down the square root of 72 into the square root of 9 times the square root of 8. The square root of 9 can be simplified and rewritten as 3. Now we have 3 times the square root of 8. It might look like we're finished, but there's a sneaky perfect square hidden in that 8. The square root of 8 can be rewritten as the square root of 4 times the square root of 2. So instead of 3 times the square root of 8, we really have 3 times the square root of 4 times the square root of 2. Now, we know that the square root of 4 equals 2. So now we have 3 times 2 times the square root of 2, which is just 6 times the square root of 2. Here's one more example, the square root of 48. There are many different ways to rewrite the square root of 48. Just choose one. For this example, we're going to use the square root of 4 times the square root of 12. Right away, I see that the square root of 4 can be simplified to 2. So now we have 2 times the square root of 12. But I also noticed that the square root of 12 can be written as the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. That means that instead of 2 times the square root of 12, we really have 2 times the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. Simplify the square root of 4 to get 2 times the square root of 3, which is 4 times the square root of 3. We can't simplify the square root of 3 anymore, so 4 times the square root of 3 is the final answer. Once you've memorized your perfect squares, simplifying square roots will be no problem at all.